So let my life be the proof of your love. Let my love look like you and what you made.
Tonight we're going to be covering this whole area that is misunderstood so much, that God is jealous. Somebody very famous, of course, Oprah Winfrey, lost her faith. She says her own testimony, when she was 27 or 28 years old, she was at church and they were having this great time, and all of a sudden the pastor says, you know, that God is a jealous God. And she was like, what? Hey, we humans are jealous, but that God is jealous? Nah, she just said, forget that, forget it. And she gave up her Christianity. So she said in that time. Misunderstanding of jealousy can cause great problems. And so today we're going to be covering this whole characteristic of God, that he's jealous. In page 37 of your booklet, God is jealous. So before we actually start looking at the verses, let me say a few comments about jealous or jealousy to kind of gain some understanding, right? Being jealous can be proper, healthy, or it can be selfish, destructive characteristic. It can be either one, right? And sometimes there's a mixture of those. An issue here is exclusivity. What do I mean by exclusivity? That is, to be loyal or committed to only one. Exclusive, being committed or loyal to only one. Let me explain a little bit more about that. Example, marriage, right? In the marriage vows or marriage commitments, when I'm marrying someone, many times the vows include what? Forsaking all others. Those are some of the vows that we make, right? I will forsake all others and cling only unto you, meaning you are exclusive in my heart. That's exclusivity. So there is a legitimacy to being suspicious and concerned when someone is trying to woo one's spouse, right? Because in marriage we have, we're this exclusivity. And those of us that are married know what that means, that if our spouse starts looking to someone else or being wooed by someone else, there's something inside that's not right. It's not right. And all of that has to do with who God is. There's only but one God, and we were created for him, and we're to have no other gods. And so within marriage, if the wife starts looking at another man, or the man starts looking at another woman, there's something not right. It's legitimate. God's first commandment of the 10 Commandments is what? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Exodus 20, verse 3. So there's this legitimacy of having exclusivity. Now, another thing before I go on to the unhealthy jealousy, that is, can be selfish or destructive. Jealousy, the proper legitimate sense and characteristic of being jealous, listen to this, also has the part of protecting the one that we're jealous about. Protecting one's own. And this is going to be coming out more and more as we go through the passages that we're going to be cover on this characteristic of God, that he is jealous. He's a jealous God. A jealous, when there's a legitimate jealousy, the jealous person seeks to protect that thing or person that he's jealous about. Protection. So just be aware of that. Now, what's this illegitimate sense of jealousy? Well, at bottom it's this. It's possessiveness. Possessiveness. No one else can talk, be around, or enjoy one's possessions. One can be jealous of a car, of a house, but then one can be jealous of a person. Mine, 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 mine. You can talk to them. You can have them. You can enjoy them. Well, wait a minute. Remember, there's a legitimacy when there's a healthy jealousy, when there's an exclusivity someone has committed in marriage, or God and God alone is to be our God. But then it goes overboard into possessiveness. The possession can be a person or a thing. And here's a characteristic that you need to look for. In the unhealthy jealousy, the possessive person needs the thing possessed. They need that thing possessed. And why does it have to be clarified? Because God does not need us. God does not need his creation. See, and so we have to be careful. But when people go into that possessiveness, now you're headed into an unhealthy jealousy. Only God possesses everyone and everything, but he's not possessive because he really doesn't need anyone, you know. But legitimacy, everything and everyone belongs to him. But here's another characteristic that can tip you off as to whether this is a healthy jealousy or an unhealthy jealousy. Is there a real care, a real concern for the thing or person that's being taken away or being wooed away? You see? Is there a genuine concern? And God, of course, genuinely cares for his own. But God does not need possessions. Now, there's a lot that I've said that it can be very confusing, right? So, jealousy has to do with exclusivity. I will forsake all others. You're going to be in my heart exclusively. No one's going to take that place. God said, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Because there's this uniqueness and exclusivity of a relationship. And when that is violated, there's a legitimacy to experience this jealousy. But now it can get over into possessiveness that now I've got to have, or I die, or whatever. Now that's possessiveness, you see. So as we go through these passages, you're going to see that, God is a jealous God, but now with that understanding that God really doesn't need us, but he cares for his own, and he's out to protect his own legitimately. Like a husband would legitimately care for a wife who's being wooed by someone. And what's that going to end? It's not going to end good. Or a husband is being wooed by some other woman other than the wife, and the wife's like, there's this jealousy legitimately. Okay, so we begin then with Exodus 20 and verse 5. Exodus 20 and verse 5. You shall not worship them or serve them. This is, having other gods, idols. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. Once God is being replaced, there's a sense of hatred. It can develop to that, right? God's own description of his own character. I mean, God is saying, I'm a jealous God. And note the lasting effects of idolatry. The lasting effects. I'm going to visit this iniquity. In other words, there's going to be an effect on the children, because if we go to other gods, our children are going to learn about other gods. And there's going to be this, bad path, and the effects are going to be there. So God says, this is a lasting effects of idolatry. But you need to know that I'm a jealous God. It's a healthy jealousy because they belong to God. So there is Exodus 34:14. For you shall not worship any other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God whose name is jealous. Will Jehovah Witnesses say, Jehovah, that's it, no other name, Jehovah? Well, right there in the scriptures it says, my name is jealous. And you know what I did? I went and got a Jehovah Witness Bible, opened it right there, and that's what it says. My name is jealous. I mean, God himself is saying that's my name. Wow. In other words, that's my very nature. That's my very nature. The Lord's nature and nature of his relationships as exclusivity. You shall have no other gods. That's the nature of his relationships. His own character and the nature of his relationships. Isn't that something? He himself describes that. I'm not making this up. He himself describes himself that way. Deuteronomy 4:24. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. Oh my goodness. Consequence of violating exclusivity. You violate exclusivity with God, he is a consuming fire. Now, try to understand this. Legally, there is a crime that is called a crime of passion. And the crime of passion, it's a crime that is committed in such a way that the person loses his senses, and there's no premeditated murder, there's no plotting, there's no something. It's just something comes over them and they get angry and they commit a crime. It's a crime of passion. Well, if a wife or a husband finds their spouse in bed having sex with another person, they can lose it so much that they can kill that person. And that's called a crime of passion. And so even the world understands this legitimacy of jealousy. Isn't that amazing? So, and what is this? This uniqueness, this exclusivity is being violated. And something deep within our being knows the reality and the legitimacy of that. And so that's just a little taste of our exclusivity with God. That God is a consuming fire. That's what he says right there. Again, I'm not making it up. It's right there, right? Deuteronomy 4:24. The Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. Wow. It's amazing. And as we go through these passages, it's like, why are we still alive? Amazing. So anyway, that's God's own self-description. Of course, with God, because he's a consuming fire, does not mean he commits crimes of passion. God never loses his control. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to burn you up. No, God never loses it like that. But he is a consuming fire. Deuteronomy 29, Deuteronomy 28, the chapter before that, is the cursings and blessings that God gave the children of Israel if they followed the law, they obeyed the law, or did not obey the law. So Deuteronomy 28, half of it is, blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you. And then the second half, cursed are you, cursed are you. It depends on, what half of the chapter do you follow. So after Deuteronomy 28, now he comes to Deuteronomy 29, 18 through 20. Lest there shall be among you a man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turns away today from the Lord our God to go and serve the gods of those nations. Lest there shall be among you a root bearing poisonous fruit and wormwood. And it shall be when he hears the word of this curse that he will boast, saying, I have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, in order to destroy the watered land with the dry. The Lord shall never be willing to forgive him, but rather the anger of the Lord and his jealousy will burn against that man, and every curse which is written in this book will rest on him, and the Lord will blot out his name from under heaven. Serious business. Idolatry is like poison and bitterness. So God's jealousy burns against it, listen, for the sake of his own. It's not just that he's possessive and he's needy, and that's not it. For the sake of his own. You start worshiping other gods, guess what? It's like poison and bitterness. Either to that person, to that tribe, to the whole nation. It's like poison. Wow. When we start looking at who we serve and who we worship in our context, because in that context it was the surrounding nations and their practices, where we're surrounded by paganism, we're surrounded by worldliness, we're surrounded by all kinds of things that we serve instead of serving the Lord. And he says here, it's poison. It's bitterness. And if I don't keep it in check, it's going to spread through our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. So there it is. God says it's poisonous fruit like wormwood. Idolatry is like poison and bitterness, so God's jealousy burns against it for the sake of his own. You see? For the sake of his own. Deuteronomy 32:16. Deuteronomy 32, verse 16. They made him jealous with strange gods. With abominations, they provoked him to anger. The history of the human heart that persists to today. We don't get it until it happens to us. Until somebody that was supposed to be faithful to us betrays us. And then, ouch, ooh, that hurts. Why are you doing that? Rah! We respond. And God says, provoke me to anger when you follow after other gods. Joshua 24, verse 18 to 21. And the Lord drove out from before us all the peoples, even the Amorites, and I'm going to say a little bit about the Amorites, who lived in the land. We also will serve the Lord, they were saying. Okay, I'll explain that. For he is our God. Then Joshua said to the people, you will not be able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. He's a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sins. And the people said to Joshua, no, but we will serve the Lord. Mere human determination to not serve other gods will not be enough. Now, what was going on there? The Amorites were those that populated the Palestinian area back then when they were coming into the land. And the Amorites worshiped false gods. And God, was wiping them out. He told them, I wiped them out. Why? Because they were worshiping other gods. Abominations to God. And so, the people said, No, we will serve the Lord. We won't behave like the Amorites. And Joshua would say, well, you know, God is a holy God. You're not going to be able to do it. No, but we'll serve God. They were determined, and Joshua was saying, man, you're going to need help. You can't do it. No, we'll serve God. Self-determination to not serve other gods is not enough. We need help from the Lord. Because we can say, no, I'm not going to go the way of the world. I'm not going to do it. No. I need the help of God. But the people say, no, we can do it. Isaiah 30 and verse 1. Isaiah 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, declares the Lord, who execute a plan, but not mine, and make an alliance, but not of my spirit, in order to add sin to sin, who proceed down to Egypt without consulting me, to take refuge in the safety of Pharaoh, and to seek shelter in the shadow of Egypt. So here we begin to understand what these idols are about. In fact, not only will mere human determination not work, what I said about Joshua 24, self-determination doesn't work. In fact, not only will mere human determination not work, humans will stubbornly, listen to this, stubbornly seek other gods. And here we begin to understand what other gods are. Other gods are those things or resources or people that we depend on for utter safety and comfort and protection. If it's not the Lord, wait a minute. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't be careful, that we don't protect ourselves as much as we can, but the ultimate trust needs to be in the Lord, you see. They were going down to Egypt. Instead of consulting the Lord, boom, let's go to Egypt, because they've got the resources, you see. And so those things become idols. The older I get, the more I realize how fragile my body is. And I used to depend on my body for everything, right? So 2-3 weeks ago, I thought, I need to lose weight. I can do it. I'll jog. And I'll exercise. Well, I jogged 2 days, and all of a sudden my hip just like, no, son. No more. But my body's supposed to be good. Yeah? Try it again. Okay. Ouch, ouch, ouch. I can't jog anymore. You know? Our own bodies can become idols. Our own mentality, our brain waves can become idols. Never mind the money and jobs and resources and connections we have. Like the Israelites had connections with Egypt. We can go make a political deal. Oh, idols, idolatry. Go down to Egypt, and they were seeking the help of the Egyptians. Isaiah 31, verse 1, the very next chapter of Isaiah. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help and rely on horses, and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they do not look to the Holy One of Israel, nor seek the Lord. We seek the political, physical powers, and not our holy God. God is rightly jealous. Who's got strength? Who's got the money? Who's got the connections? Who's got the resources? Let me go connect with them, because that's where my security is going to be. Instead of the Lord. Instead of the Lord. Amazing. And it's right there. We seek help from the puny and not the infinite. The physical and not the spiritual. And you know what happens? The next verse, look at the next verse on the page there. Isaiah 31:3. Isaiah 31:3. Look at this. This is amazing. Now the Egyptians are men and not God. And their horses are flesh and not spirit. So the Lord will stretch out his hand, and he who helps will stumble. And he who is helped will fall. And all of them will come to an end together. God says, you know, when you abandon me, everything fails. Everyone fails. When you turn away from me and seek the security and from someone else other than me, everyone fails. The one who is quote unquote helping and the one who is quote unquote being helped. The whole thing collapses. When we look to the puny and infinite or finite, everyone fails. Those who are helped and those who are helping. In fact, God will use the very idols that we use to discipline us. The very idols we're depending on. Unbelievable. In fact, that's what comes out in the next verse. In Ezekiel. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. We need really an understanding of this jealousy of God. Ezekiel 23, verse 25. And I will set my jealousy against you, that they may deal with you in wrath. They will remove your nose and your ears, and your survivor will fall by the sword. They will take your sons and your daughters, and your survivors will be consumed by the fire. Man. Idols, listen to this. Idols eventually abuse their worshipers. Idols eventually abuse their worshipers. In fact, even God will use idols to discipline us. You know, if it wasn't for the Word of God, I wouldn't know that. But it's right there. God is saying, the very idols I'm going to use. Wow. Wow. Zechariah 1:14. Zechariah 1:14. So the angel who was speaking with me said to me, proclaim, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am exceedingly jealous for Jerusalem and Zion. God is especially jealous for his own Jerusalem and Zion. Does that mean the United States is out? Does that mean that, well, we're not Jews, as far as I know, that we're out? No. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, you, and he's talking to Christians now, you are a chosen race. He quotes from the Old Testament. But now you Christians are a chosen race. You're mine. A royal priesthood unto God. So guess what? God is jealous of us. Why? Because we belong to him. And he wants what's best for us. When we veer away from him, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. So he's saying, for your own protection, I'm going to discipline you. For your own protection, because I care for you. Is that not what we do, those of us that have children? That we discipline our children because we want what's best for them? Is that not what's supposed to be? That's the love of a parent, right? If the child keeps going to the street and they disobey and disobey, guess what? We need to spank them so that they learn there's pain when you disobey. Not because we just want to be, just hitting them, but because we care. We want to protect them. God says, you're mine. You're my chosen ones. And I'm very jealous for you. Very jealous for you. And that means if I have to discipline you, I will. Because I love you and you're mine. God's jealousy. 1 Corinthians 10, 21, 22. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the table of the Lord and the table of demons. Or do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? We are not stronger than He, are we? We just forget, right, that we're a little short on power when it compares to God. That's why, again, we need to be reminded. We need to be reminded. We must fellowship with God and not idols of life. Now, the idols of life, when you look at the rest of 1 Corinthians 10, it includes the pleasures of the world. What the world has to offer now, that doesn't mean that pleasure in and of itself is bad. No. It's just when that becomes the source of all our motivation, that is the highest good, that becomes a problem. Because we're no longer looking to God, but what the pleasures of this world have to offer. Those worldly pleasures, while not being in of themselves, can become idols. And we all know all too often that that's the case. But idolatry now is celebrated. It's promoted. American Idol. Yeah, she is my idol. Yeah, where's the Lord? Well, maybe every once in a while we'll go to church or something. But here's my idol. And we think and serve and worship the pleasures of this world more than we do God. We provoke the Lord to jealousy. Finally, Ezekiel 39:25. Ezekiel 39:25, and after this we'll open up for your questions or your comments. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, now I shall restore the fortunes of Jacob and have mercy on the whole house of Israel, and I shall be jealous for my holy name. For my holy name. God wants to protect His own character and image. Here is what's most critical. That He is jealous for His own name. And so whatever it takes to protect His name, because His name is holy, you see. And He's very jealous about that. So when we come to a question about ourselves, are we jealous for what God is jealous for? Are we jealous? Period. Because we're living in times where people don't care. People don't care. You want to do that? I don't like, you know what? Just go. I don't care. Just as long as I'm comfortable, I don't care about your soul. It's sad. We're not even jealous in ways that we're supposed to be jealous. Isn't it amazing? How about the name of this church? Are you jealous for that? The name of the Lord, are you jealous about that? Am I? And you see, we all need to come to those questions. Say, am I living to honor the Lord? Am I living in such a way that's reputable and good? Or am I just whatever gives me pleasure, whatever gives me security? I don't care what it does to other people. God is a jealous God. Legitimately so. We belong to Him. And then when we bring in the gospel, 1,000,000 times more. That he paid that awful, awful price for us. So when we neglect the gospel, when we neglect him and go after other gods, our own security, we have to go back and say, man, God is a jealous God. Lord, forgive me. Forgive me. And he's full of mercy. Full of mercy. His house is full of mercy.
So let my life be the proof.